it's Shandy from ExpressionFiberArts.com. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited because I am going to show you today the difference in different yarn weights or thicknesses. I know that can be confusing for a lot of you, especially when you're just getting into the world of yarn. What does it mean? Lace weight, sport weight, worsted weight, blah, blah, blah. What can you use them for? It all gets to be a jumble. So I'm going to give you a visual representation today of what those mean and give you a brief overview of that so you can have a much clearer picture. Starting with the thinnest, we've got lace weight. These are both fingering weight. Sport weight's a little bit thicker. DK weights getting a little bit thicker. These are both worsted weight. And then this is bulky, which is the thickest I have right now. This is lace weight, which is the thinnest. Now, some brands do have cobweb, which is even thinner, very, very thread-like, but I'm not going to get into that today. Lace weight is pretty thin, so you're going to get a lot of yardage typically out of a lace weight skein since the yarn is spun so thinly. So that's awesome. For example, you can make an entire shawl out of this one skein of yarn. Since it is thinner though, a lot of beginners are a little hesitant to try it, thinking, oh, maybe it's too fiddly or too thin for my fingers, etc. And I say, don't be afraid of anything yarn related. There are no yarn police. Just try it and see if you like it. Some people love it. Some people it's not their thing. But give it a go at least, because you never know until you try. So thinner is lace weight. Next up is fingering weight yarn. Fingering weight is a little bit thicker than lace weight. There is such a thing as light fingering, which is sort of in between those two, but I won't talk about that. I did want to show you also something that confuses some people. What is sock yarn? Usually, not always, but usually sock yarn is going to be fingering weight. For example, this is 400 yards of fingering weight sock yarn. Just because it's sock yarn though, or I'm sorry, just because it's fingering weight doesn't mean it's sock yarn. I have this yarn, for example, which is fingering weight, but since it's a single ply, which I'm going to talk about all that in another video, it's not good for sock yarn. It's not going to hold up well. This is 550 yards of fingering weight yarn, which would be great for shawls or scarves or sweaters. So I just wanted to show you those two different versions of fingering weight yarn. Now, if you have the same amount of fiber, like say 4 ounces, you're going to have less yardage in fingering weight than you have in lace weight, since it's not spun as thinly. So that's fingering weight. Next up is sport weight. Sport weight is a little bit thicker than fingering weight. So if you have the same amount of fiber, then you're going to have a little bit less yardage, maybe around 300 yards or so per 100 grams, or 3.5 ounces or 4 ounces or so. Again, you can make so many different things. You'll find a lot of baby patterns are using sport weight. It's not super thin, but it's not super thick. So it's kind of that nice little, in-between weight of yarn. After sport weight, a little bit thicker than that is DK weight, which stands for double knitting. So DK weight is going to have, again, a little bit less yardage than sport weight. So for a typical skein, you're going to see maybe 250, 275 yards, etc. For DK weight, so many things you can make with this. Sweaters, hats, I mean, just really anything. And I will get into all that in a later episode. So that's what DK weight yarn looks like. After that is worsted weight. Worsted weight is what usually people think of when they think of yarn. It's just sort of the typical yarn weight, you could say. It's great for almost any type of project. You are going to get even less yardage for the same amount of fiber. So 200, this one has 200, this one has 220. I wanted to touch briefly on number of plies and explain real quickly that oftentimes people will say, oh, I need 2 ply yarn for a project. Or for example, thinking that references the yarn thickness, and it really doesn't, because this is 4 ply, this is 1 ply. The plies meaning how many little strands are twisted together to make the strand of yarn, and they're both worsted weight. So that really is not going to be super helpful if you're asking a yarn company. You want to reference more like worsted weight or DK weight, sport weight, etc. So I just wanted to show you what worsted weight looks like. And then I'm going to show you bulky. So actually between worsted and bulky, you'll often find chunky. I don't have an example to show you today. And then even bigger than bulky is super bulky. Again, I don't have any, but I wanted to show you this bulky yarn. It's nice and fat and squishy. Usually it'll be around 120, 150, 160 yards per 3.5 to 4 ounces of yarn. So less yardage. But since it is so thick and chunky and bulky, you can make something really quickly with it. So this, for example, you can make a little cowl or a hat or something with just one skein. But it's just nice and plump and really, really fun to work with. All right, so that's the sum of today's video. I will be getting into plies, fiber blends, what different yarns are good for what projects, what you can make. I know you see all these pretty yarns online and you probably just get overwhelmed with what you can make with each one. So I will get into all of that in some later videos for you. If you want that information, definitely comment below. I'm going to read that and see specifically what you're wanting. So take a minute or two and type out what specific information that you want so that I can give that to you. And if you did like the video, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on those future episodes, and give the video a thumbs up. That really helps us out. I appreciate that so much. And the best way to keep in touch with us is to sign up for our email newsletter, which you can do at expressionfiberarts.com. I will let you know when we have new colors, new patterns, new giveaways, new blog posts, all the fun stuff, so you make sure not to miss out. And for those of you wanting, because I know there's going to be comments, what are these colors, what are these specific yarns? I will link below to all of that and give you the information. That's it for today. I really hope this video helped clear up what the different yarn weights mean so that you're no longer confused about that. And I really hope you have a wonderful day. You just have this day, so soak it up, spend some time for you, do some crafting, do some art, just love on yourself and have a really, really beautiful day. And I will catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye.